Okay, so today we're going to talk about having crucial conversations. And we want to have, we have a couple of breaks during the course of our time together today where we're going to have an opportunity to practice some of them. And you may ask yourself the question, well, why do I, as a product manager or project manager, need to have crucial conversations? And I think it gets into, particularly in the context of today's world where there's a lot of challenges, we really need to be willing to have crucial conversations so that we can tear down the barriers that separate us. But that's particularly true when you're trying to move a project down the road and you encounter some difficulty in making sure that you can get the project going forward. And we also want to make sure that as we're marching forward, that we're not marching over people, that we create a safe environment for them so that they can really bring everything that they have to the table. If everybody's bringing all of their skills, all of their talents, and all of their abilities to the table when they're working on an initiative, you're really going to be able to get the maximum results out of every person. So here's a question for you. The biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. This is a quote from George Bernard Shaw. And a lot of people would say that they don't have any difficulty with communication. However, we all know that communication is a challenge for all of us. And there's always an opportunity when you can improve your communication. So when we ask you what you think about when we say crucial conversation or even difficult conversation, you see these little animals on top of our little monsters inside these people's heads. A lot of times that's what we think about when we think about a crucial conversation. I don't want to have it, or we start getting even the concept of a difficult conversation. Our hands start sweating and our hearts start pounding, and we really don't, it's something that we really don't look forward to. So we ask ourselves, what makes a crucial conversation? And a crucial conversation really happens when people have different opinions. And I've met a number of people, and every time I get into a room with people, there's all kinds of opinions all over the place. And opinions are fine, but when we're really trying to get something done and the conversation is really a high stake conversation or something that's really important to you either personally or professionally, that's when the crucial conversation or the risk of having a crucial conversation goes up. And then also when emotions are running strong. We can see, particularly in light of some of the conversations that are going on around race, how people have very strong emotions on both sides of the spectrum. And really having those crucial conversations is an opportunity for us to really build some very powerful and impactful bridges. And having these conversations really do improve the quality of your life. So Jill, if you don't mind running the poll for us, we're going to ask everyone on the call, how do you normally handle crucial conversations? Do you avoid them? Do you face them and handle them poorly, or do you think you handle them well? So why don't you take a moment or so and please respond to the poll. And Jill, let me know when the results.
We just need a few more minutes, I think, or a few more seconds rather, to make sure everybody's had a chance to vote. Okay, and I've ended the poll and I'm sharing results.
Okay. So we have a pretty good audience here. Over 50% of the audience feels like they handle them well. Some people have voted other. And then some people, we have an even mix of some people who avoid them and some people who face them and handle them poorly. So interesting, a 50-50 mix. I'm curious about the folks who voted other. I'm not exactly sure. Would you like to respond in the chat as far as for those of you who voted other, maybe you could respond in chat so that we can see what you meant when other.
And as a reminder, if you could select the all panelists and attendees channel in the chat, everybody can see, if you're okay with that, your responses.
But if you also don't feel comfortable in responding to that question, that's perfectly fine. We'll go ahead. Okay, so yeah, I think the person who responded that they picked other because they have done, in different contexts, they handled these conversations differently. And I think that's probably true for all of us if the truth be known. So thanks so much for being transparent about that. We really do appreciate it. And your feedback is really important to us. Somewhere between well done and missing the mark. I think that's true for all of us too. You know, I know that there have been some times when I've tried to have the conversation and then I felt myself getting really emotional and I tried to keep going on with the conversation, but because I was getting emotional, it kind of got out of hand. So I think that's probably true for all of us. Hey, Chris, do you want to pine in about, you know, how maybe you have responded to difficult or crucial conversations in your career?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably a good question for somebody else to ask. But I think understanding the concept was really important to me, and when I was kind of introduced to this thinking, and being conscious of when you're having a crucial conversation and thinking consciously about how you handle it rather than just reacting on your kind of gut instincts, which I think to me actually tend to withdraw and be really quiet, which people might think is strange for me, people who know me, but you know, I certainly found this kind of way of thinking about things really helpful in being more thoughtful about how to have those conversations.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so we're gonna, do I have to reshare?
No, you're good.
Okay. So there's a lot of research that backs up this concept of crucial conversation. There's a number of studies that are on this website, www.vitalsmarts.com. So if you go to that website, there are probably a dozen or more research studies that give these different statistics. So I pulled these statistics from a couple of different studies out there. So here's the research that they have. For those people who are really skilled at crucial conversations, they respond five times faster to an economic downturn and make budget adjustments more intelligently. I think that's probably a pretty good statistic based on where we are economically. For people who are skilled at crucial conversations, they save $1,500 in an 8-hour workday for every crucial conversation that they have. Now, why would we save money and why would we save time? Well, if we're not in a position, if we're facilitating a conversation that's crucial and we get to a decision quickly, then we're not having additional meetings to talk about the same topic over and over. So it not only saves time, but it saves money. It increases trust and reduces transactional costs for the same reason. If we make a decision and we communicate the decision and we get people to buy into the decision, then we're able to move more adroitly with the way things are, with where we need to go. And then 2/3 are more likely to avoid injury and death due to unsafe conditions. A lot of times, if you're intimidated by someone you work for, you may not be willing to have a crucial conversation And so therefore safety may be at risk. So very important. I'm having difficulty here. Okay. So not only has professional benefits, but it also has personal benefits. If you're not willing to have crucial conversations with the people who are closest to you, then barriers are constructed. And there was one study in this body of research that they took a group of cancer patients through a study, and they had a sample group where they took them through training for crucial conversations, and another group where they did not. Only 9% of the people who had been trained to have the crucial conversations had a reoccurrence of cancer. So to me, what this means is, and what these researchers discovered is, having crucial conversation can really help you avoid life-threatening diseases, particularly when we're in a pandemic. This is kind of an important concept for us to have. So why is it that when we're faced with having a crucial conversation, we kind of do our worst? And so it's really all about the biology, right? So biology sometimes can come against us, because when things are important to us, adrenaline starts pumping into your bloodstream. And when the adrenaline is in your bloodstream, it is automatic. It's causing the blood flow to go to your muscles so that you can do that fight or flight effort, right? And so that means if it's going to your muscles, it's not going to your brain. And when we're having a crucial conversation, we really need to have that blood going to our brain so that we can make sure that we're thinking with all cylinders. So our biology is really against us when it's time for us to have that crucial conversation. So here's some examples of some crucial conversations at the workplace. Talking to a coworker who offensively makes suggestive comments. Giving feedback to the boss about his or her behavior, critiquing a colleague's work, talking to a team member who isn't keeping their commitments, or talking to a colleague who's hoarding information. So information for some people is power, and so if they withhold that information, the good decisions can't be made. So when it comes time to have crucial conversations, I'd like you to respond in the chat if you could. What comes to mind if you were confronted with one of these conversations? And we'll give you a minute or two to respond in the chat. Okay. Not really seeing chat activity. We'll wait one more minute and then we'll go forward.
Then there's a comment from Shamsi in the chat.
Yeah.
It's a good point. There are different rules for men and women around what conversations are okay to have, and which are more controversial.
Yeah. The pros and cons of an office environment, odds of something changing. Yeah. Very good. Thanks for your participation. Okay. So let's talk about what is a dialogue. So a dialogue is free-flowing information between two or more people. So if each person comes to the conversation, they have a unique set of thoughts and feelings and experiences, and there may be differing opinions. And at first, those differing opinions may seem controversial. At first, even the differing opinions may seem wrong or at odds with one another. But as we develop this pool of shared understanding, where we're able to really see what is the accurate information, what information is relevant, the whole team together, because we have a broader sense of what the problem is, and we have a broader sense of the different perspectives that's involved in the problem, we develop what is called a pool of shared meaning. It's also called group IQ. So it's really important important for us when we're working together as a team to hear from all parties in the team so that shared pool or that shared meaning can grow. So here's a real life example that talks about the power of dialogue. There was a group of executives and they were considering making an office move. So there were different groups of people who were asked to provide the team with their different solutions. So the first two executives presented their options and they were met with penetrating questions from the full team. I don't know if you've ever been in a conversation where when you've presented something, people come back to you and they ask you a question that you may not have thought about, but when you're making a decision like an office move, it's an expensive decision and there's a lot of factors that need to weigh in. So the last person was the CEO and he pitched his top choice for a move. Now, selfishly, his choice for the move was a location that was close to his home, so he didn't have to he didn't have to commute far. So this idea was not necessarily popular and potentially disastrous to the business because where he lived was a little bit out. It was a location that was far away from where most people lived. And so people started asking him questions to really start surfacing the fact that this may not be the best decision for the business. And he started raising his voice and he started pointing his finger. And all of a sudden, the people in the room grew silent. So if you were in that room, what do you think you would have done? And you can respond to us in the chat. So when people are encountered with a situation like this, they believe that there's only two choices, and we call these two choices fool's choice. So option one is we believe that if we speak up and we confront the CEO, he's going to become a sworn enemy. So we're reluctant to do this. For option two, people feel like, well, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm just going to suffer in silence. And if they make a bad decision, that bad decision is on them. Okay? So, you know, the reality is that there's probably more than just these two choices, right? If we want to have a crucial conversation, there's a way to speak up and make that CEO not a sworn enemy. And there's a way for us not to make a bad decision. So how do we do this? So what actually happened was there was this gentleman, Kevin, and he, he ignored because everyone in the room was terrified that if they spoke up, they were going to get in trouble. And he spoke to the CEO and he says, "Hey, Chris, can I check in with you and just check to make sure things are okay?" And then everyone in the room started holding their breath. And like over the next few minutes, Kevin was able to tell the CEO that he was, maybe intimidating the people in the room and using his power to get the office moved to his hometown. Well, it was interesting because Chris had in previous meetings with his team said that it's important for the team to be able to share. So Chris was able to concede the point. Kevin was able to show Chris his respect for him. So there's a way to have a crucial conversation and allow that person to maintain their respect and make sure that we're facilitating the right conversation. And so Kevin really understood the importance of crucial conversations, and he really saved his business from making a bad mistake. If you were in this situation, do you think that you would have been willing to speak up? Okay. So how do we get people to be willing to add their meaning to the shared pool? So here's some examples of real life examples of how people were not willing to share. So there was a woman who checked into the hospital to have a tonsillectomy. And at the end of the day, the surgical team removed a portion of her foot. Now that was not so, that's not a great outcome. And then in the United States, there's over 200,000 deaths that happen annually due to human error. And that human error is the result of people not being willing to speak up. And it may not, you know, realistically, that 200,000 may not all be responsible for crucial conversations, but a fair number of them are.